Offering our salutations and gratitude to Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. Esteemed guests, respected religious scholars, officials and dignitaries from various embassies, staff and students, brothers and sisters, namaste, and a warm welcome to the evening session of the Global Conference on Uniting Religions Through Spiritual Wisdom presented by the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. The pursuit of God, divinity, upliftment, or realization has been an eternal quest for man. Many pathways have been forged to learn and spread the eternal truth. Cultural identities have influenced the landscape of religious thought, no doubt. But as we seek deeper, we find that the underlying, undiluted message of truth from across faiths point the same way. And it is the endeavor of this conference to surface this underlying unity and spiritual wisdom from across the world's religions. Several scholars have expounded on these topics through the day, and we are very grateful to have them in our midst to share their thoughts, perspectives, and wisdom. A summary reading of the same will be presented this evening, after which we will have a wonderful dance offering by the Tanusree Shankar dance troupe. Let us commence the program with a chanting of the Shraddha Suktam by the university girl students pursuing their BA in Vedic studies.
नागस्य मूर्धनि वचसा वेदयामसि प्रियग्श्रद्धे ददतः प्रियग्श्रद्धे दिदासतः प्रियं भोजेषु यज्वसु इदं उदितं कृधि यथा देवा असुरेषु श्रद्धामुग्रेषु चक्रिरे एवं भोजेषु यज्वसु अस्माकमुदितं कृधि श्रद्धां देवाय जमानाः वायुगोपा उपासते श्रद्धागुं हृदयया कूत्या श्रद्धया हूयते हविः श्रद्धां प्रातर्हवामहे श्रद्धां मध्यन्दिनं परि श्रद्धागुं सूर्यस्य निमृचि श्रद्धे श्रद्धापये हमा श्रद्धा देवानधिवस्ते श्रद्धा विश्वमिदं जगत् श्रद्धां कामस्य मातरम् हविषा वर्धयामसि ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु।
To present a brief on the morning sessions, may I please invite Sister Mokshagnya, pursuing her first-year Bachelor's of Science at the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. She joined the institution for her pre-university studies at the Sri Sathya Sai Prashantiniketanam, Kondapakka campus. Sister Mokshagnya.
And Namaste. This morning, we had the inauguration of the two-day global conference on uniting religions through spiritual wisdom. In the august presence of Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, various heads of faith and esteemed ambassadors and officials of 7 countries, the conference began with multi-faith prayers from all the major religions of the world. Thereafter, Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, in his inaugural speech, explained that while there are many religions across the globe, there is truly only one religion, the religion of love. As love is that which binds us all together. After a short break, the first technical session of the day commenced with an address by Cardinal Anthony Pula. He spoke on the practical applications of spirituality into daily life and urged everyone to love and serve all those in need as good Samaritans and good neighbors. Dr. Hafizur Rahman, founder-president, Sufi Peace Foundation, then elaborated on the similarities between ideas in Islam and Hinduism as per the sacred Quran and Vedas, quoting Khwaja Garib Nawaz, who also taught the message of love all and serve all. The session concluded with a video speech by Dharmacharya Shantum Seth, co-founder, Ahimsa Trust, India and representative of Master Thich Nhat Hanh. He spoke about the importance of being mindful and present in all daily activities, emphasizing that where there is peace within oneself, there would be peace in the world. After a brief interval, the second technical session of the day began with Dr. Sarina Molina, Associate Dean of the University of San Diego, USA, speaking about the role of religions in addressing global problems and finding answers for the society at large. Dr. Sarina expanded on the global challenges faced by children and adults in today's society. Thereafter, Dr. Benjamin Zeng, instructor of management in the University of Hawaii, USA, spoke on making religion relevant to the current times and remolding it to the current needs through his own experience of incorporating the values expounded in Jain religion into lectures on business ethics. The final speech of the session was a video address by Swami Anubhavananda, founder of Sadbhavana Trust. Swamiji spoke about bliss or true happiness as the foundation of the world and how one must remain centered in the present moment, learn from life, and remain peaceful, as these are the true measures of one's spiritual growth. Post-lunch, the third technical session began with Mr. Jayant Kapatkar, founder and CEO of STAM Interactive Solutions. Speaking on the topic of what science can learn from Vedanta, he explained that center of the universe is within one's own self. He further expanded on the concept of being constantly aware of the three aspects of the knower, the knowing, and the known. Rabbi Jackie Tabik, Joint President of World Congress of Faiths, United Kingdom, then addressed the gathering through a video speech in which she expressed that spirituality is a way of life that illuminates the inner path. She spoke on the various aspects of Judaism which derives the oneness of God. Spirituality is to experience that oneness. The final speaker, Ms. Geetanjali JB, co-founder, CEO and Dean of the Himalayan Institute of Alternatives, spoke about the concepts of spirituality and religion, saying that while spirituality is that which is under the influence of the soul, religion is that to which one holds on. Therefore, by this principle, each person is free to choose their own path of spirituality through the means of any religion. Thus concluded the first day of the Global Conference on Uniting Religions Through Spiritual Wisdom. Thank you and Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, sister, for that wonderful summary. Dance is a powerful art form that evokes sublime emotions through its grace, passion through its vigor, and a transcendental joy when expressed as a submission to the divine. A beautiful expression indeed to celebrate oneness and religious unity. We're extremely pleased and delighted to have amidst us on stage Srimati Tanusree Shankar and her exceptionally talented dance troupe all the way from Kolkata. Internationally reputed dancer, Srimati Tanusree Shankar, is the choreographer and the chief inspiration of the troupe bearing her name. She trained under renowned dancer Amala Shankar for 7 years. The novel choreography that she has developed is based on the Uday Shankar style and reaches out to audiences worldwide. It is not a combination of classical dances, but is outstanding and original, giving concrete shape to the music that inspires it. She is the recipient of the Sangeet Natak Academy Award for 2011 for her contribution towards creative and experimental dance. As a choreographer, some of the important credentials of Tanusree Shankar are a French opera called Padmavati, which was directed by the renowned Indian filmmaker Mr. Sanjay Leela Bhansali, which premiered at Paris and Italy. She is also presented at the opening ceremony of NABC 2009 in San Francisco, the United States, and in 2013 at Toronto in Canada, and the opening ceremony of the Kolkata Film Festival 2019 and the closing ceremony of the International Film Festival 2019. The presentation will begin with a performance entitled Arpan as a humble tribute to Swami Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. He is the Guru present within us. His teachings guide us in all our endeavors and enlightens our path. The offering is a vandana in praise of the Guru. The dance has been choreographed by Srimati Tanusree Shankar, set to the music of Sri Anand Shankar, and sung by Sri Suresh Vadkar. We present to you Arpan.
यत्रैव यत्रैव मनोमदीयम् तत्रैव तत्रैव तव स्वरूपम् यत्रैव यत्रैव शिरोमदीयम् तत्रैव तत्रैव तव पद तव यन्ते
The dancers of Tanusree Shankar Dance Troupe are trained in Uday Shankar's style of dance for 8 to 12 years at the Tanusree Shankar Dance Academy. In all their years of training, the dancers have been given an experience of different kinds of techniques to help enhance their movement vocabulary. Most of the dancers are trained in Indian classical forms like Bharatnatyam, Kathak, and Odissi, and some of them are trained in contemporary forms as well. Belonging from humble backgrounds, every dancer had started their journey with dance as a passion, among whom most of them today pursue dance professionally as performers, teachers, and choreographers. Among the female dancers, we have Ms. Joyita Paul, Ms. Paulami Pan, Ms. Deblina Sarkar, Ms. Saheli Roy, Ms. Aritra Sen Gupta, and Ms. Shraddhashri Brahmo. Amongst the male dancers, we have Mr. Debjit Mukherjee, Mr. Krishna Banik, Mr. Kunal Kanti Mazumdar, Mr. Sayan Banerjee, Mr. Nilava Sen, Mr. Argha Das, Mr. Dwaipayan Chatterjee, and Mr. Saikat Das. The concept, choreography, and artistic direction, of course, is by Srimati Tanusree Shankar. The next presentation is based on a poem written by Sri Rabindranath Tagore in 1930, the only one he wrote in English, called The Child. The poem deals with the values of spirituality and humanism. We live in a world that has evolved from turmoil and turbulence. Life flows like a river, gushing and meandering forward. But whenever its excesses have hindered its toll, humanity has emerged in the form of resurrection. Man's journey from the darkness of ignorance, hopelessness, and desperation of life to the light of knowledge and understanding is difficult, full of turmoil, doubt, and treachery. It is only fragile hope and faith that takes him along. Even that faith seems inadequate to the rigors of this journey. Yet, this faith carries him through to enlightenment and the newness of life represented by the child, full of innocence, simplicity, and potential. Tanusree Shankar's interpretation of the child depicts a flowing, rhythmic, spiritual journey of man through the ages, from the bondage of ignorance, ultimately to the freedom achieved through self-realization. Swami's presence in our lives is the role of the star whom we follow in our search of enlightenment. He guides us on our journey through civilization, leading us on the path of righteousness and towards light, where we can live in peace and harmony. Presenting to you, the child.
What of the night? What of the night, they ask? No answer comes. For the blind time gropes in a maze and knows not its path or purpose. The darkness in the valley stares like the dead eye sockets of a giant. The clouds like a nightmare oppress the sky, and the massive shadows lie scattered like the torn limbs of the night. A lurid glow waxes and wanes on the horizon. Is it an ultimate threat from an alien star or an elemental hunger licking the sky? Things are deliriously wild. They are a noise whose grammar is a groan and words smothered out of shape and sense. They are the refuse, the rejections, the fruitless failures of life, abrupt ruins of prodigal pride, fragments of a bridge over the oblivion of a vanished stream. Godless shrines that shelter reptiles, marble steps that lead to blankness. Sudden tumults arise in the sky and wrestle, and a startled shudder runs along the sleepless hours. Are they from desperate floods hammering against their cave walls, or from some fanatic storms whirling and howling incantations? Are they the cry of an ancient forest flinging up its hoarded fire in a last extravagant suicide, or screams of a paralytic crowd scourged by lunatics blind and deaf? Underneath the noisy terror, a stealthy hum creeps up like bubbling volcanic mud. A mixture of sinister whispers, rumors and slanders, and hisses of derision. The men gathered there are vague, like torn pages of an epic. Groping in groups or single, their torchlight tattoos their faces in checkered lines, in patterns of frightfulness. The maniacs suddenly strike their neighbors on suspicion, and a hubbub of an indiscriminate fight bursts forth, echoing from hill to hill. The women weep and wail. They cry that their children are lost in a wilderness of contrary paths with confusion at the end. Others, defiantly ribald, shake with raucous laughter their lascivious limbs unshrinkingly loud, for they think that nothing matters. There on the crest of the hill stands the man of faith amid the snow-white silence. He scans the sky for some signal of light. And when the clouds thicken and the night birds scream as they fly, he cries, "Brothers, despair not, for man is great." But they never heed him, for they believe that the elemental brute is eternal, and goodness in its depth is darkly cunning in deception. When beaten and wounded, they cry, "Brother, where art thou?" The answer comes, "I am by your side." But they cannot see in the dark, and they argue that the voice is of their own desperate desire, that men are ever condemned to fight for phantoms in an interminable desert of mutual menace. The clouds part. The morning star appears in the east. A breath of relief springs up from the heart of the earth. The murmur of leaves ripples along the forest path, and the early bird sings. The time has come, proclaims the man of faith. The time for what? For the pilgrimage. They sit and think. They know not the meaning, and yet they seem to understand according to their desires. The touch of the dawn goes deep into the soul, and life shivers along through the roots of all things. To the pilgrimage of fulfillment, a small voice whispers, nobody knows whence. Taken up by the crowd, it swells into a mighty meaning. Men raise their heads and look up. Women lift their arms in reverence. Children clap their hands and laugh. The early glow of the sun shines like a golden garland on the forehead of the man of faith. And they all cry, "Brother, we salute thee." men begin to gather from all quarters. From across the seas, the mountains, and pathless wastes. They come from the valley of the Nile and the banks of the Ganges, from the snow-sunk uplands of Tibet, from high-walled cities of glittering towers, from the dense, dark tangle of savage wilderness. Some walk, some ride on camels, horses and elephants, on chariots with banners, vying with the clouds of dawn. The priests of all creeds burn incense, chanting verses as they go. Monarchs march at the head of their armies, lances flashing in the sun and drums beating loud. Ragged beggars and courtiers, pompously decorated, agile young scholars and teachers, burdened with learned age, jostle each other in the crowd. Women come chatting and laughing. Mothers, maidens, brides, with offerings of flowers and fruit, sandal paste and scented water. Mingled with them is the harlot, shrill of voice and loud in tint and tinsel. The gossip is there who secretly poisons the well of human sympathy and chuckles. The maimed and the cripple join the throng with the blind and the sick, the dissolute, the thief, and the man who makes a trade of his God for profit and mimics the saint. The fulfillment. They dare not talk aloud, but in their minds they magnify their own greed and dream of boundless power, of unlimited impunity for pilfering and plunder, and eternity of feast for their unclean, gluttonous flesh. Faith moves on along pitiless paths, strewn with flints over scorching sands and steep mountainous tracks. They follow him, the strong and the weak, the aged and young, the rulers of realms, the tillers of the soil. Some grow weary and footsore, some angry and suspicious. They ask at every dragging step, how much further is the end? The man of faith sings in answer. They scowl and shake their fists, and yet they cannot resist him. The pressure of the moving mass and indefinite hope push them forward. They shorten their sleep and curtail their rest. They outvie each other in their speed. They are ever afraid lest they may be too late for their chance, while others be more fortunate. The days pass. The the ever-receding horizon tempts them with renewed lure of the unseen till they are sick. Their faces harden, their curses grow louder and louder. It is night. The travelers spread their mats on the ground under the banyan tree. A gust of wind blows out the lamp, and the darkness deepens like a sleep into a swoon. Someone from the crowd suddenly stands up and, pointing to the leader with merciless finger, breaks out, "False prophet, thou hast deceived us!" Others take up the cry one by one. Women hiss their hatred and men growl. One bolder than others suddenly deals him a blow. They cannot see his face, but fall upon him in a fury of destruction and hit him till he lies prone upon the ground, his life extinct. Is still. The sound of the distant waterfall comes muffled, and a faint breath of jasmine floats in the air. The pilgrims are afraid. The women begin to cry. The men, in an agony of wretchedness, shout at them to stop. Dogs break out barking and are cruelly whipped into silence, broken by moans. The night seems endless, and men and women begin to wrangle as to who among them was to blame. They shriek and shout, and as they are ready to unsheathe their knives, the darkness pales, the morning light overflows the mountain tops. Suddenly they become still and gasp for breath as they gaze at the figure lying dead. The women sob out loud, and men hide their faces in their hands. A few try to slink away unnoticed, but their crime keeps them chained to their victim. They ask each other in bewilderment, who will show us the path? The old man from the east bends his head and says, the victim. They sit still and silent. Again speaks the old man. We refused him in doubt. We killed him in anger. Now we shall accept him in love. For in his death he lives in the life of us all, the great victim. And they all stand up and mingle their voices and sing, victory to the victim, victory to the victim, victory to the victim. To the pilgrimage calls the young, to love, to power, to knowledge, to wealth overflowing. We shall conquer the world and the world beyond this. They all cry exultant in a thundering cataract of voices. The meaning is not the same to them all, but only the impulse, the moving confluence of wills that recks not death and disaster. No longer they ask for their way, no more doubts are there to burden their minds or weariness to clog their feet. The spirit of the leader is within them and ever beyond them. The leader who has crossed death and all limits. They travel over the fields where the seeds are sown, by the granary where the harvest is gathered, and across the barren soil where famine dwells and skeletons cry for the return of their flesh. They pass through populous cities humming with life, through dumb desolation hugging its ruined past, and hovels for the unclad and unclean, a mockery of home for the homeless. They travel through long hours of the summer day, and as the light wanes in the evening, they ask the man who reads the sky, "Brother, is yonder the tower of our final hope and peace?" The wise man shakes his head and says, "It is the last vanishing cloud of the sunset." Friends, exhorts the young, do not stop. Through the night's blindness, we must struggle into the kingdom of living light. They go on in the dark. The road seems to know its own meaning, and dust underfoot dumbly speaks of direction. The stars, celestial wayfarers, sing in silent chorus. Move on, comrades. In the air floats the voice of the leader. The goal is nigh. first flush of dawn glistens on the dew-dripping leaves of the forest. The man who reads the sky cries, "Friends, we have come! We have come!" They stop and look around. On both sides of the road, the corn is ripe to the horizon. The glad golden answer of the earth to the morning light. The current of daily life moves slowly between the village near the hill and the one by the river bank. The potter's wheel goes around, the woodcutter brings fuel to the market, the cowherd takes his cattle to the pasture, and the woman with the pitcher on her head walks to the well. But where is the king's castle, the mine of gold, the secret book of magic, the sage who knows love's utter wisdom? The stars cannot be wrong, assures the reader of the sky. Their signal points to that spot. And reverently he walks to a wayside spring from which wells up a stream of water, a liquid light like the morning melting into a chorus of tears and laughter. Near it, in a palm grove surrounded by strange hush, stands a leaf-thatched hut, at whose portal sits the poet of the unknown shore and sings, "Mother, open the gate." A ray of morning sun strikes aslant at the door. The assembled crowd feel in their blood the primeval chant of creation. Mother, open the gate. The gate opens. The mother is seated on a straw bed with the babe on her lap. Like the dawn with the morning star, the sun's ray that was waiting at the door outside falls on the head of the child. The poet strikes his lute and sings out, "Victory to man! Victory to man, the newborn, the ever-living. They kneel down, the king and the beggar, the saint and the sinner, the wise and the fool, and cry, Victory to man, the newborn, the ever-living. The old man from the east murmurs to himself, I have seen.
With my humble pranam at the lotus feet of Swami. I was very, very keen to present this particular production of ours, The Child, which is the one and only poem written by Rabindranath Tagore in English. And I felt this poem really represents what we are looking at Swami to take us across this era, this civilization, show us the path and guide us. And that was the reason I was very keen to present it to him, and because it has been a very emotional journey for me when I was creating this piece. It's 10 verse of poem, which is so beautifully expressed by Tagore. And we were very, very fortunate that Padma Vibhushan, Victor Banerjee agreed to recite all the poems for us. And that made a lot of difference. And it's just everybody coming together and a presentation. It's just like our pranam to you and our Naivadya to you.
Tanusree ji deserves much more than just praise and applause. I have seen her work her way through several odds, struggle her way through several difficulties, and still keep the team together through ups and downs. Despite several setbacks in her personal life as well as in the professional life, she kept the spirit of this whole group. And today you can see these children so bright and so enthusiastic. They all are shining because they're happy to do what they're doing. And they're all from small families. I did not know much till she told me about them, and I got to know some of them. They're all from small families with not from a very, as I said, very well-to-do households, but they have this passion for dance, they have the passion for theatre, and that is something that had to be kept alive. And that Tanusree ji did by keeping them all together through the pandemic times, helping them all to stay. And I've seen her, I think she was teaching them even online. And even if they were at home, they couldn't come together due to pandemic. And she, at whatever age, she kept on teaching them and teaching many children from around the world. See, this is their contribution to a better society. Society becomes more colorful, more vibrant, more sensitive through art. And this form of art that it is developed in-house, this is a combination, amalgamation of so many other dance forms. There is theater, there is storytelling, there is recitation. So many things have come together in this form, and it appeals to the audience as well. So this is something unique, innovative, creative from her and her team. And we, as I think of all our children, all our staff, this is an educative experience of how a poetry can be made to come alive in front of our eyes, can be manifested, not just read. Beautiful poetry, and every child must return to the mother, must return to the source from where the child has come. And through the journey of life, through the ups and downs, struggles and strifes, through the guidance of the master, through betrayals, through conquests, the journey must continue. And that is the story, and we are having this nice conference on world religions and spirituality. So this is the path, we have to take this path and return to the source. That's the whole essence of the presentation. And I'm very happy that you could do this. And I'm looking forward to seeing future presentations too. You see, it was a beautifully done. Very, very well. Also have several ambassadors and officials from 27 countries over here. They're all attending this program, and I'm sure they'll take back this message and spread it to their country that yes, every man's journey, every woman's journey must end in going back to the source from where we all come. Thank you.
ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद्बांधवा ओम जय जगदीश हरे माता पिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा नागेन्द्राशयना ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूपम जयस्वी वो साई महादेवा सद्गुरु साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंदुको मंगल आरती अंदुको मंगल गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा ओम शांति 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 समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ओम शांति 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय जय बोलो सद्गुरु श्री मधुसूदन साई जी की जय